الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وآله الطيبين الطاهرين أما بعد فإنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Before we recount the devastating events that followed from the martyrdom of Imam Hussain, I want us to momentarily think about the pain, the grief, the suffering, the fear, the bewilderment, the confusion of the women that were with Imam Hussain. The mothers, the sisters, the daughters. I want us to feel this if possible. And I'll narrate an incident as we go into the narration of the events. It is said in the Maqatil that Imam Hussain, when he was left on his own, and when he came by the tents and went away again, the narrator says, I saw a beautiful young child of barely 8 or 9. He ran out of the tent, didn't know what he was doing. He had curly hair and locks, and he had an earring. And he looked towards the right, and he looked towards the left. And as his mother came out of the tent trying to find him, a man rode up to him and struck him upon the head. The child fell in a pool of blood and trembled and fluttered. I wonder what that mother would have felt. Such are these mothers, these sisters, these daughters. What is in their hearts? What is their grief and what is their pain? Should they cry for their children? Should they cry for their brothers? Should they cry for their fathers? Or should they cry on what is to follow? Salma is asleep in Medina. She sees the Prophet of Allah. His hair is unkempt. His sleeves are rolled. She looks at him and she said, "O Messenger of God, is the day of Qiyamah about to dawn upon us?" He says, "Awaken and look at the dust that I have given to you of Karbala." She abruptly awakens and she sees that this dust is about to turn red. She rushes quickly to find the daughter of Hussain. And she says, "O child, I fear for the worst. Come with me to the grave of your grandfather and pray for your father." We come to Karbala. There is utmost confusion. They hear the galloping and the neighing of Zuljana. The women say, "Sakina, it is the steed of your father, receive him." When Sakina runs out of the tent, what does she see? She sees Zuljana's saddle is turned. The mane is dripping of Hussein's blood. She says, "O Zuljana, where have you left my father? O Zuljana, did they give him a drop of water, or did they behead him upon the burning thirst?" As Sakina lamented, there was a cry from the heavens, "Ala qad qutila Hussain bi Karbala. Ala qad dubiha al-Hussain bi Karbala." The confusion had no end. After they killed him, they took his head away from his body. They raised his head on the end of a spear. Somebody came and plundered his shield. Another came and plundered his sword. A third one came and plundered his garments. A fourth one tried to extract his ring, and unable to do so, he cut off his finger to take his ring. After they plundered the body of Hussein, they turned their glances towards the tents of Hussein. The Maqtal recounts that the beastly manner in which they came inside the tent was such that 6 little children lost their lives beneath the raging soldiers' feet. Zainab fled as she saw how they snatched the outer covering of the women. Even the old women that tied their backs with cloths, those cloths were snatched. As Zainab ran away from the tent, Shimmer subdued her, went near to her, and struck her with the knot of his spear. As she fell to the ground, he extracted her veil. As the veil was extracted, the inner covering was revealed of her head. As that was extracted, her earrings were revealed. As her earrings were extracted, she bled. When Zainab regained consciousness, she saw at a distance the little child of Hussein, Sakina, lying there. She came to Sakina. She carried Sakina into her lap. As Sakina awoke, she said, Ya Ammati, O aunt, do you have a cloth with which I may cover my head? She said, O child, your aunt is as deprived of a veil as you are. She consoled the child and both of them cried. Then she said, Come, let us take news of your ailing brother. When they went inside the tent, Sajjad had fallen to his face. He said, O aunt, they snatched the mattress from beneath me. I watched the women scream out for the Prophet and Ali ibn Abi Talib. As the whip was struck upon them, as they were slapped, as their coverings were snatched from them. O aunt, they left nothing, and I was helpless and watching. Zainab consoles Sajjad. There is a cry, O women, come out of your tents and prepare for captivity. Zainab said, Imam ibn Sa'ad, we are the daughters of Ali, the household of the Prophet. We shall not come out. He said, come out, or we will come inside the tents. She said, by God, you will not be able to take us out of these tents. And if you want us to come, then provide us our coverings. He said, at this point, you are my captives. You have no sanctity or dignity left. When Zainab hesitated, he set alight the tents. Hamid ibn Muslim narrates that as the tents were set alight, I saw women and children spread within the wilderness of Karbala as if a tasbih had been broken and the beads were scattered upon the earth. I saw them stumbling and falling against dead bodies, falling on rocks and stones and thrones. I saw their souls bleed of wounds. The tents are burning. A general narrates, I saw a lady of a tall stature going inside a burning tent and coming out again. When she did this several times, I went to her and I said, O maid of God, enter not this tent once again, for you will be burnt alive. She said, O man, what may I do? I have a youthful son in this tent who is unable to move. He narrates that I saw her carrying that child, her youth, upon her shoulders and bringing him out of the tents. At this point, Umar ibn Sa'ad ordered his soldiers to volunteer and trample upon the body of Hussein ibn Ali. 4 of them volunteers, and turn by turn they mutilated the body of Hussein beneath the hooves of their horses. Such was the state of Hussein's body that when they went to claim their reward from Ibn Ziyad, they said, Ibn Ziyad, fill our sacks with gold and silver, for we have trampled upon the body of the best of birth through man and women. Ibn Ziyad, had you touched Hussein's chest, you would have found it as soft as kneaded dough. That is the extent to which we have crushed him. Zainab, the Bertensa burnt. She's in the wilderness. She says to Kulthum, Kulthum, let us find the orphans and gather them. They looked for the children and women, and as they found them, they brought them back to a burning tent. Zainab saw two little children in the embrace of each other. When the two sisters tried to awaken the children, they found that these two little children had lost their lives beneath the hooves of raging horses. Nothing could have prepared them for this shock. Her heart broke with them. She turned to Kulthum. Where is Hussein's little Sakina? I do not see her. Frightened from within, the Sakina, they might have lost her. She cried out, O Sakina, call on to me. There is silence. She looks towards the battlefield. She says, O Akbar, has your Sakina come to you? There is no reply. She looks towards the Euphrates. O Abbas, has your Sakina come to you? There is silence. Bewildered, she calls for Sakina and advances into a shallow place. When she gets there, she finds a headless body, and its embrace is Sakina. She awakens the child. Sakina says, O aunt, do not separate me from the chest of my father. But this body has no head, O Sakina. How did you know it is your father? O aunt, when my garments were burning, when my earrings were snatched, when my cheeks had turned blue through the slapping of shimmer, I remembered the embrace of my father. And I said, O Father, why have you forsaken your child on such a dreadful night? I ran in this direction, and when I came here, this headless body said, Ilayya, Ilayya, ya bunayya. O child, come to me. When I slept on his chest, I saw my father. He said, O Sakina, tell my followers, if only you had seen how I pleaded for water for my little baby. Sakina is taken back by Zainab to the tent. The tent is burning. The women are crying. The children are sobbing. They are confused. Where have our brothers gone? Where have our uncles gone? Where have our fathers gone? Someone looks at Zainab and says, O daughter of Ali, I have been whipped upon my back. Another says, O Zainab, I have been slapped upon my face. A third one says, where is my child, O Zainab? Zainab calms them. Ibn Sa'd gets news of the two children that have died and sends water towards the orphans of Hussein with Hur's wife. As Hur's widow advances towards the burning tent where Zainab camps, Zainab from afar says to Kulthum, O Kulthum, is this not the widow of Hur? Indeed, O sister, when Hur's widow comes near Zainab, Zainab says, O good woman, grief knows no end for the loss of your husband. She says, may they all be sacrificed for your brother, O Zainab. What brings you here on such a dreadful night? She says, I have brought you some water. When she hears the name of water, she looks towards Hussein. This is my brother. You have died thirsty. She calls on to Sakina. She says, "Oh child, come and drink water." Sakina says, "Oh aunt, is my Abbas back? Has my uncle brought me water? Do not ask questions and drink this water." Sakina quenches her thirst. But maybe she is thinking that what about her Asghar? For she is not the smallest one. He is the baby. Zainab puts them to rest. She takes a broken spear and guards the tent. She asks Kulthum to sleep. From afar, there is a rider that approaches. Zainab directs herself to him and says, "O man, pause, do not near us." The man does not stop. She calls out again, "We have nothing left. Everything has been taken." He does not stop. "If you have to come, then come at daybreak. My children have barely fallen asleep. Do not chastise them anymore." He does not stop. And when he nears her, in a rage, she grabs the reins of the horse. "Do you not know whose daughter I am, O man?" As she says this, the rider removes his face mask. As she sees her father, she is startled and she moves back. She says, "Oh father, this is the state of your daughter?" Slapped upon her face, her back turned black by the whip. "Oh father, if you had to come, then why did you not come when the son of Fatima was being slaughtered?" Matem Hussein.
ای شیعیونیم شب شام غریبان است، جسم حسین اوریان اندر بیابان است. ای شیعیونیم شام غریبان است، ای شیعیونیم شام غریبان است، جسم حسین او در کربلاییم شب زاری و افغان است، جسم علی اکبر اندر بیابان است. امشب شام غریبان جسم حسین اوریان به حالت محزون چون نشه در خون بر شاهدان اونها هر چشم گریان است. غریبان از جسم حسین چون زینب محزون با دیدای گریان گفته ای برادر جان ما بی کس و یارین نیم شب شام غریبان است ای شیعیون نیم شب جسم حسین عریان ختم رسول آیا با جمله همراهان از قتل فرزندش گریان و نالان است شام غریبان است ای شیعیون نیم شب شام غریبان است جسم حسین عریا اندر ای شیعیون نیم شب شام غریبان است جسم حسین عریا اندر بیابان است شام غریبان است ای شیعیون امشب شام غریبان است جسم حسین عریا اندر یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین